Welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you guys with the most up-to-date political, economic and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in. Okay, happy Saturday everybody. I hope you're all enjoying your weekend. Let's try and keep it a little short and light today as always, as of course it's the weekend. This week the National Audit Office, at a bi-monthly session of the National People's Congress Standing Committee, presented a report on local government breaches of financial rules and systemic risks, and the findings of the report were not good. According to the report, a total of 10 regions misused the proceeds of 13.66 billion RMB, approximately $2 billion worth of special purpose bonds, which are usually allocated for infrastructure spending on business operations and personnel wages in calendar year 2021. This is both deeply concerning and unsurprising. We know that many local governments are under tremendous financial stress this year, with central government demands of meeting growth targets and implementing zero COVID policies, resulting in high costs, while at the same time economic disruptions and a collapse in land sales from the housing crisis has hit local government coffers hard. So no doubt these trends that we're seeing in 2021 are likely going to worsen this year in 2022. Indeed, recently Fitch Ratings found that land use rights revenue will decline this year, while expenditure is set to rise a whopping 19% year on year, with Samuel Kwok, Senior Director at Fitch Ratings, expressing, quote, "This will create a financing gap that will need to be funded by debt, particularly through special purpose bonds," end quote. The Auditor General of the National Audit Office expressed that 26 of China's 31 provincial level jurisdictions falsified information to obtain 543 million yuan of central government subsidies for people affected by the pandemic. A total of 28 provinces misused 1.4 billion RMB of funds for debt repayment and infrastructure projects. Next up, the crisis in Pakistan. If you guys enjoy the video and you appreciate what I'm trying to do with this channel and you'd like to try and help keep it sustainable, Patreon, buy me a coffee, which is great if you just want to give a one-off tip, and crypto links are in the description below. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to the like button, and sharing is a big help as well. Thank you everybody, as always, for the ongoing support. Yesterday, Friday, the Pakistani Finance Minister, Miftah Ismail, please forgive my Urdu pronunciation, announced that a consortium of Chinese state-run banks has lent his country $2.3 billion to help prevent a full-blown foreign payments crisis, with Ismail writing in a tweet, quote, "I'm pleased to announce that Chinese consortium loan of RMB 15 billion, 2.3 billion, has been credited in the State Bank of Pakistan account today, increasing our foreign exchange reserves," end quote. Pakistan also announced a one-off 10% super tax on important industries like cement, beverages, steel, tobacco and chemicals for a stalled 6 billion IMF loan package being resumed. The announcement of the tax, unsurprisingly, has not been very popular domestically. British-based Japanese-owned Financial Times writes that the Chinese loan will raise Pakistan's liquid foreign reserves of 8.2 billion to 10.5 billion and could help shore up the rupee, which has slumped against Western currencies. Pakistan began to receive IMF payments in 2019 under a 39-month loan program, but the fund has so far given only about half of the 6 billion agreed. Quote, "In recent months, sliding confidence in Pakistan's economy has prompted concerns it could follow Sri Lanka in defaulting on international debt," end quote. We remember that Pakistan is a close economic and military ally for China seeking to counterbalance India in South Asia. China has billions invested in the country, which is also a central actor in General Secretary Xi Jinping's Belt and Road Initiative. So the last thing Beijing wants is a collapse in Pakistan's economy, especially as Beijing has its own economic issues at home to deal with. And with that, let's move on to the Chinese economy generally. Chinese financial outlet Caixin Media published a great piece just today, which includes predictions, thoughts and observations from a wide set of analysts on the Chinese economy for the rest of the 2022 calendar year. I think it's worth examining some of these observations from different experts on the Chinese economy. First, observations on macro conditions generally. Quote, overall, the economy slightly recovered month on month in May and was better than expected, but the year-on-year change still slowed a large drop. Compared with the post-outbreak recovery of 2020, this round is limited by more logistical constraints, weaker export momentum, poorer resident confidence, and a bumpier path to recovery for the property sector. June is an important window for observation as to whether the economy has bottomed out. End quote. And, quote, the darkest moment in China's economy has passed, and the recovery in the second half of the year will come in phases, starting with catering and industrial production, continuing to real estate sales, infrastructure investment and consumption of vehicles and home appliances, before comprehensive growth in consumption and a recovery in manufacturing investment. The level of recovery hinges on whether China can balance COVID control and economic development, further ease real estate policies, and address the difficulties in infrastructure financing. End quote. Tommy Wu, lead economist at Oxford Economics Limited, expressed on the question of consumption that COVID-related risks made families more cautious and less optimistic about the future of their incomes, which will continue affecting their spending, bringing down consumption for this year. The year-on-year decline in property development investment in the January to May period widened from the first 4 months to 4%. Quote, the effectiveness of measures supporting the real estate industry, such as lowering mortgage rates, has been somewhat offset by the COVID outbreak. Investment and sales in the sector remained in a trough. It may take about 2 more months for the market to restart growing. End quote. More on the property sector shortly, and on manufacturing. Quote, manufacturers of products with shorter supply chains, such as small home appliances, will be able to quickly resume normal production by themselves. But for industries with longer and more complex supply chains, such as automobile manufacturing, resuming normal operations requires all links in the supply chain to resume production first. End quote. Now let's move away from this piece from Caixin and look back at the real estate market specifically by reminding ourselves of the findings of market research firm China Real Estate Information Corp in a report it published this week. Property developers continue struggling to meet sales goals despite government efforts to prop up the property market. According to the China Real Estate Information Corp survey, among the 14 publicly traded real estate businesses that have disclosed annual sales goals, nearly 80% said that they have reached less than 30% of their targets by the end of May. We covered this earlier in the week. More than 50% reported hitting less than 25% of their goals, according to the survey. We remember that housing sales have been dropping at a double-digit pace ever since August 2021. Almost a year ago now. The decline widened from 39.7% in January to 59.4% in May. Total sales of the developers from January to May declined 53.2% compared with the same period a year ago. Now finally, let's end this part on the economy with the theme of US-China decoupling by examining this observation from an industry insider from a foreign policy article titled, Why the US and China Aren't Decoupling So Fast. Quote, why would we want to decouple from this gravy train? US executives will tell you off the record how much money they're making, how good the Chinese market is, but they bury this data in their financial reports. They don't separate out the China results and instead call them Asia-Pacific revenues. They move profits around, obfuscate what's happening, because it's not politically correct. End quote. Okay, that is today's episode. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great weekend. I'll see you on Monday.